Hello, hello. Trying something different, and this time it is, I wouldn't say horror, more like mystery and thriller story. This is meant to be read on the side. This is not a full course meal like you are watching a movie. This is more dessert meant to be listened to on the side. Yum yum. It's up to you if you would like to support me by clicking the subscribe button. Okay, hope you enjoy and let's begin. The morgue was always too cold. Adrian stood just inside the door, arms folded, watching Dr. Evelyn Park peel back the sheet covering Julie Park's body. The harsh overhead lights buzzed faintly, and the air smelled of antiseptic and steel. Her skin had taken on a waxy blue hue, and her hands still bore faint red indentations from the thread. "Did you run toxicology yet?" Adrian asked. Dr. Park nodded, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "Came back clean. No sedatives, no alcohol, no opiates. She was fully conscious when it happened." Adrian's brow furrowed. "And she didn't resist?" "No broken nails. No bruising. No signs of restraint except for the thread. It's like she just let it happen." Evelyn's voice was clinical, but her eyes flicked briefly to Adrian. "People fight harder for less." He nodded but said nothing. Instead, he walked around the table, letting his eyes fall across the body with calm scrutiny. The precision still bothered him. The thread was tied with the same number of loops, in the same direction, with the same tension, a pattern that felt almost ritualistic, but not in a theatrical way. It wasn't performative. It was personal. "She was found less than 12 hours after her time of death," Adrian murmured. "So the killer didn't wait long to dump her. Almost like he wanted us to find her quickly," Park said. "Or maybe he doesn't care if we do." He glanced up at her. "You think he's getting reckless?" Evelyn hesitated. "I think he's getting comfortable." The precinct's briefing room was quiet that afternoon, most of the detectives scattered on field calls or catching up on backlog. Adrian sat with Claire, Detective Claire Lynn, sharp as glass and half as forgiving, reviewing the timeline of the last 3 victims. Her pen tapped lightly on the table between them. Victim 1, Harrison Cho, 42, accountant, found in a cargo container 2 blocks from his apartment. Victim 2, Lena Brome, 29, art student, found in the basement of her college's abandoned dorm. Victim 3, Julie Park, teacher, found in an alley near her school. Claire circled each location on the map. Different parts of the city. No overlap. No shared workspaces. They didn't go to the same gym, see the same doctors, shop at the same stores. We're missing something. Adrian sipped his coffee, leaning back. It's not geography. He's not picking based on proximity. Then what? Random chance. No. Too clean. Too consistent. She narrowed her eyes. What if it's emotional proximity? He raised an eyebrow. Claire leaned forward. Think about it. No physical connection between victims. But what if the killer knows them in different ways? Not in the same space, but the same mindset. Something that ties them together emotionally. A belief, maybe. A trauma. Adrian didn't answer right away. It was an interesting theory, just the kind he liked. The kind that made people feel like they were circling something real, even if they weren't. That would explain why none of them fought back, he said eventually. "Exactly," she said. "He doesn't need to overpower them. He just has to be someone they trust." Her eyes lingered on him just a second too long. Adrian smiled. "Maybe you should be leading this case," he said. Claire smirked. "Not unless you're planning to retire." Later that evening, Adrian walked the perimeter of the alley where Julie Park's body had been found. The crime scene tape had been taken down. The puddle evaporated. The only trace of death now was psychological, the invisible kind that clung to places like smoke after a fire. A child's red mitten lay in the corner behind a dumpster. He crouched beside it, running gloved fingers along the fabric. Damp. Fresh. Someone had been here recently. Adrian scanned the alley. No cameras. No pedestrians. Then he saw it, scrawled faintly in chalk on the back wall of the alley, behind a rusted trash bin. "He only listens when you're quiet." The handwriting was crooked, childlike, faint enough that the rain almost washed it away. Adrian stood perfectly still. His heart didn't skip. His breath didn't hitch, but his mind narrowed like a blade. Had someone seen something? Or was this a message meant for him? 3 days later, the fourth body was found. This one was different. It was a man in his 60s, found in the boiler room of a church undergoing renovation. Same thread, same missing tongue. But this time, the body had been positioned differently. Kneeling upright, hands folded in prayer. The press went rabid. The precinct doubled down. Claire worked 14 hours without leaving her desk, dark circles forming under her eyes. Lieutenant Ramirez started sleeping in his office. And Adrian? Adrian watched them all from inside. He kept detailed notes, drew fake patterns, played devil's advocate, reinforced red herrings he'd quietly fed into the room himself. But not everything was under control, because at 10:46 p.m., Claire walked into his apartment, silent as a question. She didn't kiss him, didn't take off her coat, just stood in the doorway, holding a printed page in her hand. "I found something," she said. Adrian looked up from his laptop. She walked over and dropped the page in front of him. It was a psychiatric profile. Old, from a case 5 years ago. The profile detailed a man, anonymous in the record, who had been admitted for extreme dissociation, narcissistic tendencies, and a distinct lack of empathy. The patient had spent years practicing identities to pass as high-functioning. The only reason he'd been caught was because a nurse found his journals, full of fictional relationships and careful experiments in mimicry. Claire tapped the name at the bottom. "Guess who wrote this?" she said. Adrian didn't flinch. He read the name, Dr. Evelyn Park. He stood, walked to the kitchen, and poured her a drink. She didn't take it. She worked psych before she went medical. Claire said this was one of her first cases. And I asked her about it. She said the file reminded her of someone she knows now. He handed her the glass. Still, she didn't move. "So I read through it," Claire continued. "The language, the patterns, the way he builds relationships, the way he talks like he's always performing." Adrian set the glass down on the table. "You think it's connected?" "I think we need to start considering everyone," she said. "Even the people we think we know." A long silence. Then Adrian gave her a smile, the kind that said, "I trust you." "Good," he said softly. "We'll solve this together." That night, Adrian couldn't sleep. He sat on his couch, eyes unfocused, as the city breathed around him. Out the window, traffic hummed like blood in a vein. Somewhere, someone screamed, but it was far enough away that no one would care. He thought about the chalk message in the alley. He thought about Claire's eyes. And for the first time in a long time, something stirred. Not panic, but a thrill. Not from the kill or the act, but from the hunt. The idea that someone might actually catch up, that someone was finally listening close enough to hear what was always beneath the silence. He opened his drawer, pulled out the red thread, and began to tie. The man who found the journal was 17 years old and high on spray paint fumes. He'd broken into the old Wilkes Library on a dare, tagging walls with shaky lines and smiley faces, leaving boot prints in a thick layer of dust. The building had been condemned in the early 2000s, water damage, mold, asbestos. But it still stood, hunched and wheezing like something that refused to die. He hadn't meant to find anything. But in the back corner of the basement, behind a crumbling bookcase and beneath a pile of mildewed encyclopedias, he found a leather-bound notebook with a broken spine and torn corners. It had no name, no cover, just a first page smeared with moisture and time. All so loud, but if I'm quiet enough, they let me in. He didn't understand it, didn't read more than a few pages. But the moment he saw the sketches, dozens of faces with mouths sewn shut, he dropped the book and ran. That was 2 days ago. The precinct's evidence room was a rotating door of anxiety that week. For murders in just over a month, each one stranger than the last. No messages to the press. No clear motive. Just silence. The kind of silence that made people speak louder, hoping the noise might make sense of it all. Claire slid the black notebook across Adrian's desk with a plastic evidence bag still around it. "Found it in an abandoned building," she said. "Kid turned it in after breaking in. Says he got spooked." Adrian opened it carefully, gloves on. The pages were warped, water damaged, and stained in places with what looked like ink or something thicker. He flipped through drawings of hands and knots, sketches of teeth falling out, pages of fragmented text written in short, uneven bursts. If they trust you, they let you speak for them. I only take the ones who ask for it. Tongues are heavier than they look. No names, no dates, but something about it felt close, intimate. Claire leaned over his shoulder, scanning the pages beside him. It reads like delusion, she said, but detailed, too detailed. Could be someone trying to build a myth, Adrian replied. A copycat, a fantasist. Claire frowned. Or it's real, a confession. Adrian didn't respond. He kept flipping. One sketch caught his eye. For stick figures, arms behind their backs, kneeling in a row. Excess rise. Mouths drawn as long black slashes. Above them, in tiny print, the quiet choir. He closed the book. We should trace the paper, he said. See if forensics can link it to printer, paper type, anything. I already started that, Claire said, crossing her arms. Park's having a field day with the ink samples. Good. Adrian nodded. Anything else? Claire hesitated. The kid who found it. He says he heard someone whispering in the building. Adrian raised an eyebrow. Someone else was there? He says no. Says it was coming from the walls. She rolled her eyes. Probably just scared himself stupid. Still, Adrian noted it. People hearing voices, seeing patterns. It wasn't new, but it was useful. That night, Adrian visited the Wilkes Library alone. The front gate had been locked for years, but the side entrance near the alley opened with a firm push. No cameras, no alarm, just mildew and dust. He moved quietly, flashlight in one hand, service weapon holstered. His boots echoed across cracked linoleum as he descended into the basement. The air smelled of wet rot and something sweeter, old paper and moldy flesh. He found the spot easily. Books scattered, the shelving warped where the journal had been found. He crouched and ran his hand across the floor. A single red thread, frayed at the edge, thin as breath. He pocketed it. 2 days passed before the 5th victim was discovered. She was found in an empty apartment downtown, vacant since 2019. Her body was curled on its side, one hand outstretched toward the door, as though she had changed her mind at the last second. Tongue missing, no signs of trauma. Clean, posed, intentional. She was only 16, and this time there was a note, not left near the body, not handwritten, printed on an old typewriter, folded neatly inside her shoe. She asked to be quiet. I gave her silence. The department fell into chaos. Ramirez pulled every detective from cold cases. The mayor's office demanded results. Claire nearly collapsed from exhaustion. Even Dr. Park stopped being sarcastic. Adrian remained calm. He listened. He took notes. He asked the right questions at the right times. No one saw the moment his hand clenched beneath the desk. No one noticed a slip of red thread inside his watch strap. That evening, Adrian went back to the evidence room. The notebook was still there. He opened again, this time more slowly. The pages near the back had fresh ink, less smeared, more confident. A new phrase repeated 5 times on the final page. They don't need to scream if you know how to hear them. He closed the book and returned it, then walked out. Somewhere in the city, a young woman was walking home from night classes. She hummed to herself, keys between her fingers, earbuds in. She didn't notice the man watching from across the street. She didn't notice that she passed the same car twice. She didn't notice the subtle silence around her, the kind of hush that settles when something has made a decision. The briefing room smelled like burnt coffee and failure. A cork board dominated the front wall, covered edge to edge with headshots, printouts, sticky notes, maps, and enough red thread to turn it all into turmoil disguised as clarity. Lieutenant Ramirez stood at the front, his shirt collar wrinkled, his eyes hollow from too many sleepless nights. We have 5 victims, all posed, all bound, all missing their tongues. We have no DNA, no prints, no hair, nothing useful. He turned to the room. What we do have are patterns, not connections between the victims, but between the scenes. And maybe, just maybe, we've been looking at this wrong. He gestured to a younger detective, sitting near the front. Detective Bell walked him through the new theory. Bell cleared his throat. Tall, gangly, too eager. So, we combed back to the last year of missing persons, looking for anyone who disappeared under unusual circumstances but wasn't reported by family. Why that? Someone asked. Bell nodded. Because the last victim, a 16-year-old named Heather Cho, was reported missing for 3 full days. Her mother assumed she was staying with a friend. If she hadn't been found, she might have been buried in the system. Meaning the killer may target people whose absence won't cause alarms. Claire said, Exactly. Ghosts in plain sight. Adrian leaned forward slightly. Bell continued, pointing to a spreadsheet. We found 3 missing persons reports that share a few strange elements. No family follow-up. No witness statements. One of them, a man named Louis Fair, was last seen entering a counseling clinic a month before the first victim turned up. Clinic? Ramirez asked. Sunview Counseling, Bell said. Private, small. Burned down 6 weeks ago. Arson. No suspect. The room tensed. Claire narrowed her eyes. That can't be coincidence. Bell shook his head. We don't think so either. The files were destroyed. No digital backups. Adrian raised his hand slightly, calmly. How many patients went there? Unknown, Bell said. Clinic records are gone. And the lead therapist, Dr. Wyatt Dern, he went missing 2 days before the fire. That name sent a ripple through the room. Anyone ever interview him? Claire asked. No. He vanished before the investigation started. Find the people who work with him. Ramirez said, nurses, clerks, anyone. If this guy's our lead, I want his entire life torn apart. Later, in the hallway, Claire caught up to Adrian. Thoughts? She asked. He shrugged. It's promising. She studied his face. You don't look convinced. It's a lead, he said. We'll see what it becomes. Something about that place creeps me out, she murmured. Adrian nodded, but his thoughts were elsewhere. Sunview. He remembered the name. Meanwhile, in a dim office above a pawn shop downtown, a woman named Jenna Reyes fidgeted with a lighter she didn't intend to use. She had been a receptionist at Sunview Counseling for 9 months before the fire. She hadn't spoken to anyone from the clinic since. But when the detectives knocked on her door, her gut screamed. Now, sitting across from Claire Lynn in an interview room that smelled like bleach and sweat, she looked like she hadn't slept in days. Tell us about Dr. Dern, Claire said gently. Jenna stared at her fingers. He was distant, cold, but he got results. Clients liked him. Did you ever feel unsafe there? Jenna laughed once, dry and sharp. Sunview was a clinic for people who didn't belong anywhere else. Everyone there felt unsafe. Claire nodded. You said Dr. Dern vanished before fire? He didn't show up for 3 days. No calls, no messages, and then the building went up in flames. Do you think he started the fire? I don't know, Jenna whispered, but I know he was afraid of someone. Claire's pen stopped. Afraid of who? Jenna shook her head. I don't know, but he got a call, maybe a week before he disappeared. Took it in his office. When he came out, he was pale. Said he needed to revise his caseload. Did he mention a name? Jenna hesitated. Then, only one. Adrian. Claire blinked. Adrian, what? I don't know. Just Adrian. Claire stared at her a moment, then forced a small smile. Thank you, Jenna. You've been very helpful. Back in the bullpen, Claire sat at her desk, arms crossed, eyes on nothing. She didn't say anything for a long time. Then she stood, walked slowly toward Adrian's desk, and dropped a folder onto it. Mind taking this interview tomorrow? She asked. Survivor of an old domestic case. Might tie into the missing clinic angle. He glanced at the folder, without opening it. Sure. She lingered a moment. You ever hear of Sunview Counseling? She asked, voice neutral. Adrian looked up, brow furrowed. Can't say I have. Why? No reason. She smiled faintly. Just a weird name. Then she walked away. That night, Adrian sat alone in his apartment, reading the file she'd handed him. It was real. A domestic violence survivor from 3 years ago. A woman named Karen Lyle who'd vanished after testifying against her husband. No updates. No contact. No body. He flipped to the last page. Someone had written in pen at the bottom margin. She said the voices told her not to speak, that they'd come back. He stared at that line for a long time, then turned off the light and waited. 2 days later, the sixth victim was found. A man, middle-aged, found in the bathtub of a condemned hotel room, knees curled to his chest. He had claw marks on his own throat, as though he'd tried to reach something that wasn't there anymore. He had no name, no ID, but he had a Sunview appointment card in his wallet, and the back of it was scratched in frantic handwriting. I told him I wouldn't talk. I promised. The ink ended in a jagged tear.